in its most simplistic form, with Brady's old grip with his interlock, what was happening is the club was moving behind him, his hands were moving out. Then the hand path would tend to lift, he would get a little bit across the line, and then from there he's got to play catch up. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Kerrod here on the range today with Brady Watt, former world #1 amateur in the world and touring professional. Brady's going to share some of his key insights, which has elevated his game over the years and got him to the level that he is at now. Brady, thanks for coming along, mate.
Thanks, Kerrod.
You guys don't want to miss out on this one. Stay tuned. All right, Brad, so in regards to maybe an element of your swing that you're always conscious about, and it's something that for a lot of amateur golfers, they really don't appreciate the importance of it, is your connection with the golf club and the grip. Now, relative to what you want to achieve in the game, there's certain grip styles and positions and strengths and weaknesses that you can get away with, but you're always going to have a certain, let's say, cap to your potential if your grip isn't functional and doesn't allow the club face to square up. But not only square up, there's a couple other things that a lot of players really aren't too aware of, that a high-level professional golfer such as yourself, who has a great awareness of where the club is in their hands, has to be conscious of at time, because it does produce huge differences in trajectory, spin rates, and the overall result. So we were talking just before about what you feel is certain pressure points in the golf swing. So let's talk about one element that you often think about here.
Yeah, so grip for me is huge, and just getting a solid setup with all of that stuff. So for me, it's always left hand on first. Set the angle. So for me, mine's not 0 degrees, it's not 90, it's somewhere at 45 degrees.
Great.
With the 3 fingers on here.
Perfect.
Left knuckle is, I mean, you could draw it like if you've got like a training grip, you could draw like a red point there and a blue point here, and put your index knuckles on them.
Sure.
Your right one's on there. And you've got a really solid feel for where that club is in your hands. So you know that when you are releasing this club at that angle, it's at the full potential and it's locked in. It's not loose in your hands where this club face is rolling, because ultimately we want a stable club face at impact. All the great players had that. They're all great iron players, and I think a lot of them, for me personally, they do it through a really solid grip. Yeah. It's something they're always checking. I don't know if you watch the Greg Norman 30 for 30. Of course. He's like Jack Nicklaus, to just check your grip pressure and all that stuff. It's just simple things that you can help you in the long run and kind of relax your body to kind of do what it already knows it needs to do with the motion of it all. So for me, it's knuckles on, grip here, this and that. Just recently I've changed to overlap, because it helps me hit my takeaway more here. That's
very interesting. Like, for someone who's played golf their whole life with an interlock, I'm assuming, to then just shift to an overlap. What was the...
With my interlock, my miss would be club head a little inside, hands out.
So defined by this moving here, hand path moves out a little bit.
Yeah, so my miss would be there, like not that dramatic, and then it kind of throws the club out of balance, and you kind of dealing with different forces and stuff. Like for me, throwing the overlap on here, if I took my left hand off the club and I went this way, I can really set the club in that hands in, club head out position, which helps me keep this position at the top. Okay. Which actually stabilizes, and I'm in a very strong position.
So for you, what would happen if you missed this point here? Would this start to retract or move off? Or?
Yeah, so if you think of like counterbalances, if that is inside, subconsciously it's got to go this way.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's the other, like if you think of someone like Daniel Berger, he's quite out this way, and he really loads the club here. So it's just knowing your pattern. Like they both work, it's just kind of maintaining which way it is. Like I think we grew up in the Tiger area where he was inside across the line. We all kind of copied that, and he had that pattern of that really big right miss, but when he was on here and there. But like I think the more we understand now with all this technology and all the rest, like something as simple as a grip, getting it on properly. Like for me personally, like I feel like I can hit my takeaway more often than not and set the club in a powerful position where I can either hit it this way, that way, and feel strong about all of that stuff.
Yeah, so just for the guys at home here, what Brady's talking about here is the importance of not only orientation of your hands in regards to squaring the face back at the moment of impact, but also the follow-on effect and then how that affects the way that your body moves and stabilizes throughout the golf swing. So in its most simplistic form, with Brady's old grip with his interlock, what was happening is the club was moving behind him, his hands were moving out, then the hand path would tend to lift, he would get a little bit across the line, and then from there he's got to play catch up. So with his new overlap grip, he was able to get the golf club a little bit more on plane, which then just stabilized this arm in such a position throughout the entirety of the backswing and then downswing, where he was able to then get back into a position where he was comfortable and get better consistency of strike and also compression on the golf ball.
Yeah, it's just knowing your pattern and how you can put a few safeguards in or things you check daily to, kind of get you on the right track. Because if I just let it go too far this way, like the club's behind me, then I'm going to get in a position where I can't hit all the shots where I want to, and I'm going to have to make compensations, whether that's slow it down, throw my back, shift, all these other things. I think a lot of things can be solved really early on, like pre-hit stuff that, is going to help you in the long run. I think like a great takeaway is, so underrated. Yeah,
and it's so funny. All the coaches that I've done content with and talked through over the years, it's become more and more apparent that as time progresses, really the best solution for the majority of golfers is to get a great setup, a really functional takeaway and backswing, and then from there a lot of good stuff tends to happen for free. There's too many players that are trying to be conscious and aware of what the club's doing in this 0.25 of a second in the downswing. It just makes it too hard to manipulate.
Oh, it's so fast, you're not going to be able to make that compensation. If there's any grey area where you can't feel the club, and coming back to how strong it needs to feel at the top, if you do hit that takeaway where your hands are in and the club head's a little out, and you can put a lot of pressure at the top of your swing and feel strong and stable, so many things are cured. And then it's just balance. It's really just shift your weight on your left side or right side if you're a left-hander and smash it. That's kind of it. You can't be thinking, oh, my elbow, am I blinking?
Where are we? Yeah, exactly. Where's that pressure in the left pinky toe gone? Where is that?
No, don't. That's
we've all done that before. So, mate, just a couple of key tangible takeaways for the guys at home. One thing that I did pick up there is always take your grip with your left hand first. I always say take your grip out in front of you as well. Yep. The amount of time I see players take it down, they usually get their wrist bending in the wrong way. It generally gets too weak. It's too much in the palm. Makes it very challenging from there. So up in front of us, right? Yep. Put your left hand on first. Get your trail hand. What's a little key checkpoint they can use with the trail hand?
Going right at the beginning is actually have it up with no weight.
Yep.
Get your left hand on, right hand with your both index knuckles, just on the side, like if that was right through, like a T straight through the middle, kind of right on top of that here. Yep. But you can feel the weight here. There's no weight, and if you slowly brought it down to horizontal, it's like, for me, that's like a 3 out of 10, and there's no more weight that you need to hold that when you're actually over the club.
There's one little test I always love to do with players, right? Your grip should be secure enough where I can't pull it out of your hands, but it shouldn't be so tense through the wrists and shoulders that I can't push it towards them without too much tension, right? We see too many players, if you lock your arms up, mate, they would be like rock solid and I can't do this. But if Brady just relaxes and he gets into his setup position, you can see there's actually a bit of mobility there. That's going to allow him to use his wrists in such a functional way to create the speed without inhibiting it. So let's just hit a couple of shots to finish, mate. Go through your grip routine before every shot, just so we can make sure that you've got it set there.
Yeah, so naturally it's just left hand on, right hand sits under here. I know my left hand's locked in. Adam Scott does it the best, I think. He kind of gets it this way here, checks it, put it in here, and then I think a good waggle's always kind of something that keeps the tension out.
Reduces a lot of that tension.
Pressure, keep your shoulders down and all that stuff. And, not as much as Sergio was when in 2000 he did stuff, but like for me, I just like to feel like in that right knuckle on my index finger here. Get a good feel for the kind of shot I'm trying to hit and anything like that.
About as good as it gets. Nice work, my man.
Yeah.
Awesome.